Okay, part two is just doing some basic practicing to get your proportions right and to memorize them. I'm going to start with the female figure. Proportions from the man are actually pretty much the same height-wise. The man proportions will really only change for width of the shoulders. So what you should really do before you get involved in trying to do this is you're going to use line paper. And I just want you to practice making a bunch of oval heads. Think of them as O's, think of them as zeros, think of them as just ovals. And that is going to be your basic head shape. I am drawing darker than you probably are. I mean, you could do this with a pen, you could do this with anything. Just really about 2 lines of the paper, like 2 lines tall, and just practice making a head shape. What? Really? Yes. And then you could sort of start to modify it, remembering that the top of your head is wider than the bottom of your head because hopefully there's more room for your brain than your mouth. Brain, mouth. Shouldn't be the other way around. Brain, mouth. No. Okay. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Just going forehead, side, side, chin. 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 This starts to look more like a man. So I'm really just doing a curve, a couple straight lines, and a more extreme curve. And you really just want to kind of get the hang of making an ovular, I don't think that's a word, an oval type head. You don't want this. No circles. No, no, no. Ovals, ovals, ovals. Always narrower, more narrow at the bottom than the top. And just practice, practice, practice. And you'd be doing yourself a favor if you did a whole page of these little heads. Because you want your fashion sketches to be sort of fresh and quick. And so it takes like a lot of practice to kind of get the muscle memory to train your hand to do something. And actually, like as I look at them, partially because I'm insane, they're sort of starting to have some character to them, which might lead me to some design ideas. Like, oh, look at his hair. I didn't mean to give him hair. Now he's got hair. This guy's got the same hair. And this guy's got old man hair. And this guy's got that kind of comb over deal going. Right? So just page ovals, and you never know. They might take you somewhere. So that is step 1, I guess, is to practice the heads. Step 1. And now I want you to keep working with line paper. And this is just going to be the basic proportions. Sharpen my pencil. Again, you can really work with anything. These are the proportions that you want to memorize. But you're like, I'm only designing for men. That's good. That's fine. Industry needs you. But this is just about proportions. It's going to be basically the same. So if you memorize these, you're golden. So when you're drawing the fashion figure, you're using the head as the measurement. You're not using inches. You're not using picas. You're not using millimeters, centimeters, RPM. You are using head. So if you draw a little tiny head, you're going to get a little tiny body. If you draw an itty bitty head, you're going to draw a little itty bitty body. If you draw a giant head, it's going to go off the paper. So what I want you to do is we're going to start right at the top of our page, and we're going to draw one of our little oval heads again. Curve, straight line, chin. Curve, straight line, chin. And that's your basic. All right. And right at the chin, we are going to put a 1. This is our unit of measurement, okay? No matter how small or how big, the head is what you're measuring with. This is why we're starting with lined paper. You could always go back with tracing paper once you get a figure you like. So make your life easy. Start with lined paper. And then I'm just going to count heads. 2, 3, 4, 5. I wonder if I'm really going to remember this. It's been a long time. 6, 7, 8, where a normal human being would stop. 9. You could stop your fashion figure at 9, but they seem to be 10 heads tall now. At one point, they were 9 heads tall, and then even while I was teaching, I don't know how many years I taught fashion, 6 or something, in that time, they changed it. All right, so 0 is the top of the head, 1 is the chin. We're going to label these as we go. You're going to drop a line. It's going to be the spine, and it's going to go straight down because we're drawing kind of a rigid figure to start with. You'll get more styly as you get comfortable with this. So I think I'm funny. So like 4 1/4-ish. This is really like 4 1/2, whatever. Not the end of the world. So 4 is hip. 4 1/4, 4 1/2-ish. Like don't get crazy. Is crotch. Yes, it's my favorite word, crotch. Look at crotch. It's a good insult. Go call somebody a crotch. So, sorry guys, but my joke used to be think like a man and draw an arrow to the crotch. All right. So now you have a spine and you have a crotch. Oh, look at that. All right. So shoulders go at 1 1/2. So 1 1/2 is shoulder line. 2-ish is going to be armpit. And all of these things get ishes, all right? Believe it or not, 3 is waist. If you went and measured yourself in the mirror, go count your heads in the mirror. Go like 1, 2, 3. Your waist, where your body bends, right? Where you can bend from side to side, is 3 heads. All right, and it's also your elbow. So stand up right now, drop your arms to your side, poke yourself in the side with your elbow. That is also your waist. Waist and elbow line up, right? 4 is hip, 5 is whatever. 6, believe it or not, is knee-ish. 7 is whatever. 8 is also whatever, because now it's 10 heads tall, which is insanity. All right, so now what? You've got it basically numbered and labeled. So now you're going to make yourself a little neck, just straight up and down. And then you're going to give yourself some trapeziuses. On a man, the neck will be wider and maybe even shorter. And then what I do is nothing yet. All right. So you've got a head, you've got a spine, you've got a crotch, you've got a neck, you've got traps. And then what I want you to do now is at the 3, I want you to just give yourself a little curve and a little curve on either side. And there's a reason for this. That reason is hard to explain because I can't even people do weird stuff. That's why. All right, here's your next trick. You're going to take the width of your head. All right, that's the width of the little head. You are going to line it up at the 1 1/2. You can line it up with the spine in both directions. All right, this is the width of your shoulders. Crazy, right? And this is standard for really everybody. And I know you're picturing all kinds of different bodies, but if you were to measure that body's head, you'd be like, oh, wow, it really does work. Like bigger head, bigger shoulders, bigger hips. For the most part, we are all picturing someone we know that's kind of a bobblehead. Hey, happens, but they're not a fashion figure. All right, so shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip. As a skeleton, like I don't know what happens with weight distribution, and holy moly, over 40, over 50, anyway, weight distribution may change, a little padding, but if you were really pared down to a skeleton, hips and shoulders are the same width. So from the waist out to the hip, from the waist out to the hip, connect to your crotch, connect to your crotch. Oh, look at that. You made a pelvis. Aren't you special? Right? That was not so hard. All right. So people who have some issues in here with thinking about how arms fit into your body. Your shoulder is a great big hunk of bone that fits into a socket. So from the 1.5 to 2-ish, I want you to kind of make a curve in and a curve in again. So remember you did curve, curve. Now you're going to do curve, curve, and then you're going to connect it. Ta-da! It's a torso wearing an old-fashioned leotard. And then 2.5-ish is bust line. You don't have to draw boobs, but that is basically bust line. And ish, I put ish after all these things because they're adjustable. All right, so this is where things get crazy, and I hope that you are just drawing with a number 2 pencil with a good eraser, because limbs, let us talk about limbs. This is the trunk of your body, right? And that was not so hard. It just takes practice. And again, this is going to be kind of a stiff figure. I'm going to draw a line all the way down to the 10 from the middle of her granny panties there. And I have to tell you, the fashion figure annoys me because it's ridiculous. Like, nobody looks like this. But what are you going to do? I probably threw out all my old slideshows and everything that I could share with you. So I was probably like, I'm done with it. And here I am. So that's terrifying, right? So for right now, those are our legs. For the arms, I want you to kind of make a little oval in that torso and think that's your shoulder joint. All right. And then straight arm, 3 is your elbow. 4 is your wrist. I think it might be a little lower. All right. So big oval shoulder, medium oval elbow. I want you to extend your arm right now, palm up, and look at your elbow and think, oh my God, elbows are huge. Because you know what? Elbows are huge. So you actually should go check out your own bod to figure out what's happening with proportions. All right, so now I'm going to make that into an arm. Taper from your shoulder to your elbow, and then again taper from your elbow to your wrist. Wrist is there, all right? Your fingertips will wind up around 5-ish, right? Because now think about dress code. Well, you guys don't have to, but for girls, you know what? I was wrong. For girls, dress code is like, to the fingertips. That is because your wrist lines up with your crotch. Your hand, if you face palm yourself, your hand is about as big as your face. So there's fingertips. So there's the old dress code skirt line right there. Fight the power, ladies. All right. So if your arm is bent, the elbow won't be at 3. It'll be a little bit higher, but same proportions. And then you could You could put the little hand on the hip if you wanted to, or not. You can do 2 straight arms, but just giving you an option. All right. So forget wrist at 4. Wrist is with crotch. And that is so you can wipe your own hiney. If your wrists were way up here where people draw them, people draw their arms too short all the time. If you don't understand arms, then you don't understand sleeves. If you don't understand sleeves and arms, then you don't understand proper clothing proportions, then you aren't designing clothes properly. So that is why you have to know the body. If you don't know the body, then you don't understand how clothes work on a body. That's why we're doing this. All right. So, boop. Oh, wait, I'm going to put the knees in. Knee-ish. All right. So it's 6-ish. Your kneecap is a great big floating hunk of bone. Go hit it against the table and you'll believe me. So same deal. So I've got my knees and then I'm going to taper from my granny panty legs to the knee. And I'm shading this in so you can really see it. See how quickly we're forming a body. All right, so 9 is ankle. So I'm going to give myself an ankle bone. And then you're going to have all this calf. So much calf. Like, I don't know, like a basketball player. Like a basketball player who's, 8 feet tall. It's insanity. This is a whole lot of shin. All right, so it's a normal person ends here. So like this would be foot, but we are drawing a fashion figure, so it is like a giraffe person. And then for feet, I kind of think about the paddle on a boat. So I kind of just have it come out a little bit and then curve in. So that's like big toe, up the little toe, and then tapering back to the ankle. So head, arrow, curve, curve. And then the arms and the legs are all about tapering. Tapering into the elbow, tapering into the wrist, tapering into the elbow, tapering into the wrist, tapering into the knee, tapering into the ankle. That is the trick. So now what you want to do now is practice this 1,000 times. Draw your head, 0, 1, number it down to 10, label it 1,000 times. Do you want to be able to do this in your sleep? I know you don't believe me, and I know you don't want to, but you're going to need to rewatch this video and do it 1,000 times, or at least 100, or at least 20. But on lined paper, do this. Take a screenshot